Sean Diddy Combs, once the king of hip-hop, is no longer under the all-too-familiar gaze of the suicide watch at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, according to insiders who spilled the tea to Fox News Digital. Yes, the man who brought us countless chart-topping tracks and produced some of the most iconic hits of the 90s and early 2000s is apparently back to regular jail life, no longer on high alert. Of course, don't jump to conclusions. This isn't about his emotional well-being. It's just what the feds do when a celebrity lands in jail. I mean, who wouldn't want to keep an eye on a guy used to million-dollar studio sessions as he adjusts to his new digs in a cold, gray cell? According to the same source, this isn't a reflection of Combs' mental health but rather routine for high-profile inmates. Apparently, being a hip-hop mogul comes with the bonus of round-the-clock attention when you enter federal custody. After all, it's not every day that a guy who built a music empire ends up sharing space with common criminals, so they make sure you don't do anything drastic. Now, in case you were wondering how Diddy's holding up in the slammer, don't worry. His family's been visiting him, though it's unclear which members showed up. Maybe it was his mom, Janice, or perhaps his kids, Chance, Jesse, Delilah, and Baby Love, stopped by to see Daddy Dearest behind bars. You know, normal family bonding, except instead of a beach vacation, it's in the visiting room of a federal detention center. In a statement to Fox News Digital, Combs' spokesperson reassured fans that Mr. Combs is strong, healthy, and focused on his defense. Apparently, the guy who dominated the music industry for decades is now laser-focused on something else, staying out of prison. He is committed to fighting this case and has full confidence in both his legal team and the truth, the statement continued. Because, of course, what else could possibly save him now, other than a world-class legal team and a lot of hope? Speaking of where he's currently residing, Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center isn't new to high-profile inmates. Let's not forget that our Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell both called this lovely place home at one point. Our Kelly, another name in the music industry now spending his days behind bars. Like Diddy, Kelly was also placed on suicide watch at the MDC shortly after being convicted of racketeering and sex trafficking. So, at least Combs has some celebrity jail buddies to look up to, right? But back to Diddy's situation. In case you missed the memo, the man who once revolutionized hip-hop production and delivered platinum albums was arrested on Monday, September 16th. The following day, he was charged with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transporting individuals for prostitution. You know, the kind of charges that make you sit back and say, what happened to the days when Diddy was just producing feel-good party anthems? If you're thinking, no way could this be true, Diddy thought so too, at least his legal team did. Within hours of an indictment being unsealed, detailing these alleged sex crimes, the producer-turned-mogul entered a quick and confident not guilty plea. Because of course, the guy who could once produce hit after hit is going to take his chances with the court. However, if things don't go his way, he's looking at a minimum of 15 years behind bars. On the flip side, if he really gets unlucky, he could be facing life in prison. Yes, life. Which might be slightly longer than the career of some of today's TikTok artists. Naturally, Diddy's legal team didn't just sit back and accept this fate. Oh no, they came in hot with a $50 million bail proposal. I mean, if you've got the money, why not try to buy your way out of jail, right? They even threw in some extra goodies for the court's consideration, like offering up his luxury mansion on Miami's Star Island as collateral, which just so happens to be valued at a modest $48 million. But in case that wasn't enough, they also threw in the equity from his mother's Miami home because nothing says, I'm not a flight risk like risking your mom's house. Despite all these grand gestures, U.S. District Court Judge Andrew Carter wasn't having it. He denied bail not once, but twice. In his ruling, Carter cited the very real possibility that Diddy might tamper with witnesses. You know, because apparently, intimidating people is something Diddy's been pretty good at for years. The judge even pointed out that the prosecution had shown clear and convincing evidence that Diddy posed a danger to the community. Yikes. Speaking of intimidation, Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson didn't hold back. She painted a rather dark picture of the once-glamorous producer, claiming that Combs had a long history of scaring the living daylights out of his accusers and witnesses. Johnson came prepared with text messages showing that Diddy forced his victims into what he casually referred to as freak-offs. And no, that's not a fun party game. According to Johnson, these were sickening sexual encounters that Diddy would record and later use as blackmail to ensure his victims stayed quiet. Seems like a far cry from the guy who orchestrated smooth beats and catchy hooks, doesn't it? The indictment goes even further, alleging that Diddy's criminal enterprise spanned across multiple businesses, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global. The government claims he used threats, firearms, and a twisted mix of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse to exploit women. Following raids on his property in March, law enforcement seized numerous items, including AR-15 rifles with defaced serial numbers, because, nothing says innocent like illegal firearms. But perhaps the weirdest discovery was the stash of freak-off supplies, including over 1,000 bottles of personal lubricant and baby oil. Yes, you read that right. Apparently, Diddy's team liked to stock hotel rooms for these events, with enough baby oil to make even the most seasoned spa jealous. So, while Diddy may be off suicide watch and focused on his defense, it looks like his legal battle is just getting started. Whether or not he can remix his way out of this one remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, this isn't the comeback anyone was expecting.